Hi fam, hi soul family, how are you? Sending you lots of love. I hope you've been okay. So yesterday I had a thing, went really well. I can't really talk about it just yet, but you all know what it is anyway. Nudge, nudge. But yeah, it went really well. It's the first of many hearings, so it was good. Do you know what as well? So I'll read you this thing I wrote today, and this is important, and it's not just about my personal experience. Obviously, there's loads of people going through this with partners, whether it's male or female, or just it could be somebody in your family, it could be a work colleague that's like this. So I'm going to read it to you, and then I'm going to read you the sort of subsequent thoughts that I have that I haven't written yet, and how it is actually really important for what is going on right now, but also this sort of cycle that we've been in forever. So it's so funny. I'm pissing people off. I really am. Getting on their tits. I know I am. Soz. So I'm gonna start this with this may trigger people. And it's coming from a place of love. It's really not meant to, please take it with that intention. Because it's hard to hear things when you don't want to hear them. And this is part of this. So I put in there, know about narcs. They walk among us. There are 2 billion women and children currently being abused by men, plus the women that are abusing men. On top of that, that doesn't include that. That's reported cases only, right? Reported cases only. And it does not include covert narcissists. And they are the ones that are the real psychopaths. And they're in like business, government, institutions, monarchies. Right, so those are actual numbers. That is actually happening right now as we speak, and it's only getting worse. There's been 243 million more cases the last 12 months. So this is important. This is relevant and is important. Know the signs, know the traits, know the tactics for yourself and for those around you that you care about. Once you understand these things, you can spot them a mile off and avoid them at all costs. Narcissist, sociopath, psychopath, narcissistic, sociopath, and psychopath. Most are made, some are born. These personality disorders are directly as a result of some trauma, abuse, abandonment, neglect that happens as a child that makes them incapable of giving or receiving love, giving or receiving care. Right? So this is where the cycle comes in, because there's 2 things here. And let me carry on and then I'll go into that. So this is not your fault. You cannot heal them or fix them. It is not your job to do so. Only they can fix themselves. And in order to do that, that first would mean they have to acknowledge that they have a problem, and then they have to do the work to fix it. No one else can do that for them, which they will not do until they're ready to do so, which may be never. The best thing to do is walk away. Now, all you can do is that. Like, you could, but there's no need to be, because ultimately they're hurting, which is making them behave that way. Because it is, and this isn't me just going, like making that up. That's like from a year and a half worth of studying these things and psychology and into narcissism and where it comes from and how it happens and all of that. And I put links into it. I'll put them all again here. Yeah. So something has happened to make them that way. Right? So you've got to love them anyway, but you don't have to put up with that either. See what I'm saying? So it's better just to walk away quietly. Stage right, left, whichever one it is. Because you can't force someone to change. And like it's like with any kind of addiction as well. Like you can't, until that person realizes that is a problem and wants to change and is willing to do the work that needs to be done to change, they won't change. And it's kind of and it's just the same, because until you're willing to accept that the behavior is a direct result of something that's happened to you that you have not dealt with, then you'll continue to behave that way. And really it's just, and that's kind of like those traumas, childhood trauma, the thing I said there, but trauma, abuse, abandonment, neglect, all of those things have a lifelong effect if they're not dealt with. And then that's when you then get that anger and want to fill that, try and mask whatever that is with whatever addiction you want. And this cycle, because it's just been happening over and over and over and over and over again. If you think, let me finish this and then I'll say that. So I put the primary difference between these and everyone else is that they have no empathy for other humans. They're angry individuals that lack impulse control. They're pleasure seekers, instant gratification seekers, which is in spirituality terms, that's a devil energy, and that is at everyone else's expense. They get their kicks and instant gratification from sex, porn, drugs, alcohol, crime, control, power, pain, fear, money, manipulation. The instant gratification comes from a dopamine release that's in your brain, which is what fuels and also creates instant addictions. The ego and reputation is everything. It is a mask hiding the real them, which few ever see. Usually only the person who sees the monster behind the mask is the person they're in a relationship with. Now, obviously, I've said that there because that's in relation to my personal experience. Calling out a narc or a group of narcs is a dangerous business, as exposing the truth is like a red rag to a bull, and they do everything in their power to destroy you, even kill. And then I've put literally a case today came out about this exact thing. So I put a link to a guy murdering his wife. He was in court today. The best advice is, if it feels wrong, it is. Listen to your intuition. It always speaks the truth. Yeah. And again, this is more in relation to people that are in a really serious domestic violence type scenario. Get a camera, get evidence, get help, get out. Or even better, don't go there in the first place. You will save yourself a life of pain. Remember, it does get better. You can heal. There is support. You are strong. You are never alone. You are beautiful. You are enough. You are worthy of love you want. You are loved universally and unconditionally, just as they are, if only they'd realize it. And that's an important point, because when you link it back to the trauma, abandonment, abuse, neglect, that's not feeling loved, and that has in some way it has a lifelong impact on your ability to love others and formulate relationships that have true connection. And the inability to do that then makes you want to fill that void with something else: alcohol, sex, drugs, porn, crime, and so on. And that's what gives you the kicks. And the kicks come from dopamine, which is a chemical in your brain, and that is what formulates actions. And then you're addicted to that, and it's instant. And the more you do it, the more you get that. And that's a biological fact. I'm not just making this up. Like, that is how it works. That's how addictions work. But on a spiritual level, everyone is universally and unconditionally loved. And we need to heal our inner child, all of us. Because we are stuck in this cycle. Because so many people right now, take right now, as of today, the entire world has gone through, and continues to go through 16 months of trauma of gargantuan levels. It's a traumatic period. And this isn't even factoring in any previous trauma that may have happened individually or in families or whatever. This is right now, the entire world is going through that trauma, and it's going on and on and on and on. And this is why it's this important. Because if you think adults, yeah, if all of the adults over a certain age, just wigs in my face, yeah, if you think that we weren't dealing with our shit pre-COVID, let's say, because there was already these things were issues, but just weren't facing up to them, right? Not COVID, the traumas, the addictions, all of these problems in society. We were just burying our head well in the sand there for the last how many thousand years. We were just burying our head in sand. Hence why it's gone on and on, because if you have this trauma, you're either gonna become a narcissist from childhood trauma, or you're gonna continue to be abused. You're gonna look for you're gonna be susceptible to that. You're gonna be easily manipulated, because that's the way you've dealt with it, you know? So you're either going to get angry and hate everybody and go that way, or you're going to go with the other way from an emotional standpoint, you know, from a sort of, it's called, just call it, what did I, Stockholm syndrome. That's what it is. So you're going to kind of continue in that same space where you're going to get into relationships and be abused until we stop the cycle. We've got to stop the cycle. This is the point. The only way to do that is acknowledge that there is a problem and do whatever we can to heal ourselves and help each other heal. And we need to do it even more so now than ever before for the kids, because if you don't do it, then that's what they see, that's what they become, and so on and so on and so on. And that's what's happened. But now we've had 16 months of trauma. There are people that are seriously affected by this in so many ways, because you know, if we as adults, you know, the collective aren't dealing with this situation, what must it be doing to our children? What must it be doing to them mentally? And that's just COVID. That's just taking the one COVID. So not being at school, not being around friends, not developing properly, not having proper education properly, not those things. Then you've got to think, what if there's a family situation? So they're stuck in an ever increasing difficult dynamic at home for all of that time stuck inside like that. Not being able to go out, not being able to go to the park, not being able to do anything. That, you know, the list goes on. Staying online all the time, only playing games all the time, only shopping online, not being able to go to the shop, only watching TV nonstop. You know, as much as people try and do, the homeschooling during that time there, you can't blame people if they haven't done it properly, because they're not teachers. They're not fucking teachers. That's why we've got schools. So everyone's just trying to get through a very difficult time as best they can, when it's just like suddenly slapping your face like, right, you're basically in prison in your own home. Can't do anything. Can't go anywhere. And you've got to try and suddenly work out this whole new, like, right, okay, I've got to look after kids, homeschool kids, try and work, you know, whatever other stuff you've got going on, plus, you know, maybe not seeing your maybe losing people along the way to COVID or to other things, because there's 10 other more there's 10 other illnesses and diseases that are higher up on the list in the last year that are killing people that are not even getting mentioned. What, you know, there's all of these things. So just be a general here, and this is not in, you know, but clearly people aren't, because mental health issues have gone up and alcohol consumption and drug abuse has gone up. It has. And we can cover it up like, oh yeah, I'm just getting through, you know, like it's just, oh, I'm just getting through this difficult time or whatever. But it's going to have an effect. It's going to have an effect on people, and it's going to have an effect on their children. and it's gonna the traumatic time will impact these kids, and you're already seeing it. They're reporting these issues that kids are getting at school from mental health problems from this time now, and suicide problems, and stressing about exams, and stressing about, time that they've missed. They shouldn't be stressing about any of these things. Yeah. And because childhood trauma causes this problem, it is imperative that we fucking sort this shit out. Can't even stress this enough, because if we do not, as adults dealing with our own shit, as to make sure they're all right, and then help them deal with theirs, because otherwise we're going to have an explosion of, and you're already seeing it. Yeah, if people are watching mainstream news, right, or what's going on in your own town, because I'm signed up to like all of the local newspapers, so I get newsletters every day with local news from all over the country, just because I'm nosy. And the stories that are coming out, yeah, and that have been coming out on a daily basis on that local level is scary. And I'm not saying that to scare you, I'm saying it so that people wake up, because yeah, this time now, the longer this has gone on, is making people crazy. And it's not going cuckoo crazy like that. It's because people are drinking more, it's because people are doing more drugs, it's because they're stressed, it's because they're anxious, it's because they're depressed, it's because they've spent 16 months isolated at home, which is essentially torture. It's because they're watching non-stop mainstream media and all they're talking about is death. It's because they've lost people, it's because they've lost family members, it's because they've lost friends and children and whatever. It is because they haven't, they've lost their jobs. It's because they're worried about money. It's because they've got nowhere to live. It's because they've got no food. It's because of all of those things. And it is backing people into a corner. And if you already haven't dealt with trauma from your life, and then this has happened, and then you're adding in all of those things that I just said there, that is what's happening. And there's every single day someone's getting murdered, someone's getting, there's these crazy stories, like kids are stabbing each other, people getting shot on their doorsteps. Like, it feels like we're in a fucking really horrific nightmare that everyone is in, and we need to get out of it. We need to. And I hate to be the party pooper, but the only way is to get control of our minds, and the only way to do that is it takes work. It takes work. It takes work. And stopping all these things that people want to be doing to escape. But that process of escaping is making it worse. Because when you're in that place, when you're drunk or you're high or you're whatever, all the things that I just listed there at the beginning, you're not thinking straight. You don't ever make any good decisions when you're in that state, and you're easily susceptible to being manipulated by whoever. And it's making people angry. You can feel it. You can feel this. It's tangible. The anger in the energy. And we've got to stop the cycle. We've got to help it. We've got to help each other get through this and heal. And we've got to do it for the kids to help them heal. They haven't got a fucking clue what's going on. Can you imagine that time when you're between 0 and 7, I think it is when you're in dreamland. You're in theta waves, or I think it is. And everything's a dream. You're in imagination. You're in your own little world. You know, you just create everything. You're in a castle. You're up a mountain. You're riding a horse. Whatever. Yeah, and that's been taken away. That has literally been taken away from them. That dreamy, everything's perfect. I can be whatever I want to be. I'm a superhero. I'm an astronaut. Like, you know, that, because they're just exploring. They were, you know, at that time. But they've been shut in. They've been caged in. That has been, unless you're obviously rich and have got a wonderland in your own house, and you've got someone to come and teach your kids for you, and you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. For most people on the planet, it will have done damage. And I'm going to use someone. There's several other points on this. So I realised when I was doing this earlier, I was kind of thinking about it, and I was kind of reflecting, and everything's easier in hindsight, isn't it? And I was thinking, oh my gosh, you know what? Excuse me. You know what? So many people, right? I mentioned it briefly before, but now I'm thinking of it on a much more deeper level. So many people tried to warn me over the years. So many. Not just from my side either. And a girl said to me right at the beginning, there's no smoke without fire. And she'll know, if she ever watches this, she'll know who she is. And the point is this. I was warned, even from like within a week, and the one before as well was warned. So, but here's what happens. Well, at least for me, I'm not going to say generally because it's not necessary. But I wear my heart on my sleeve, yeah, and I've got a big one. Sorry, I've got such a childish sense of humour. I've got a big heart, and I've got lots of love to give, and I fall deeply in love. And I just had my love blinkers on, is the best way to describe it. I had love blinkers firmly glued to my face, my fingers in my ears going, la, 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 when anyone was telling me, right? Of which there were many, so many over the years now, when I was thinking about it earlier. I was like, do you know what as well? I just wasn't ready to hear it. Even though it was right in front of my face, even though it was blatantly obvious, even though I knew deep down, my intuition was telling me, I knew deep down. I mean, some things as well, it was obvious. It was right there. But you want to believe, I just wanted to believe what I wanted to believe. I wanted to believe that there is no way that someone that I could love so much would do that to me. Right? I couldn't believe it. I could not. So I just refused. Mentally, obviously, I'll just put myself in that state. So it's my own doing, in a sense, really. And not only that, I also realized, you know, this the kind of knock-on effect of that is I got arsy with people. I got arsy with people when they'd say stuff against him, even though deep down I knew it was true. And then I'd tell him, and he'd tell me not to be friends with them, or he'd make it so that it would be really difficult, or we just never see them again, or he'd isolate me from those people more and more over the time, because obviously more and more people were telling me. So then you just isolate from everybody, and you don't see anyone. And so really, then I was thinking, God, I was really rude to people because I was backing up a fucking nut. And I have to say thank you. I should say thank you retrospectively for trying to help me, and the fact that I didn't. And not only did I ignore you, even though deep down I knew it was true, I also then was probably nasty. So thank you for trying to help me is ultimately what I'm saying. And really what I'm doing now is paying forward the help that was tried to be given to me by so many that I refused to take, because I just was not ready to accept that someone would do that to me. It wasn't. Didn't matter how obvious it was. I couldn't. And that's why I kept accepting the worse and worse behaviour. And he knew that I would. He knew that I would, because he knew that I loved him that much. And so he just kept pushing it, and pushing it a bit more, and pushing it a bit more, and pushing it, moving the line constantly, moving the line. Because he knew that I'd just stay. He knew that I'd accept it, because he knew that I loved him. But going back to this whole thing. So I listened to this woman yesterday. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but I'll put the link in. And again, this is kind of an analogy for all of this. It's about water, but it's really about this. And that is, you know, if you're in a place and all you're offered is dirty water, right? I will explain this more, but hopefully you will understand what it means. So let's say if you're in a difficult, you know, if you haven't got a difficult background, or difficult you live in a difficult place, right? And or a difficult community, you know, where the community is a poor area, or there's no opportunity there. And then you factor in all this trauma and this abuse and this neglect, and then really the only option, much like, so if you were offered only dirty water, you may not want to drink it, right? You're looking at it, it's like dirty. You might not want to drink that water because you know you're probably going to get ill. You don't know what's in it. You could die from it. But as much as you may want to refuse it, after so many days, you're going to drink that water, aren't you? Because there's nothing else to drink. That's the only option. and you drink it even though you know you might die, you know you might get ill, you know there might be all of these consequences as a result of drinking it. But there's the only water. That is the only thing there. If you have two options, so if you've got the dirty water or you've got beautifully, filtered clear water, if you were given the two options, you would drink clear water. You would drink the purified water, obviously. And when I'm talking about this in relation to this situation here and what's going on, if there are communities, right? There are communities that don't have options. They've never had options, right? So it's a poor area. They haven't got good schools necessarily, because that's normally the way it works. It certainly is over here. So, and they haven't got any activities. They haven't got the funding for any of these things. So then what happens is, then guess what? It's a poor community with not, little to no support for children or adults in any capacity, particularly mental health. Then there's nothing for them to do, and they're not making any money, and there's no jobs in that area. So the options are zero, which means then, of course, what is the option? Well, the only option then is that's when you get your crime and your gangs and your thing. And that's what I'm saying about drinking the dirty water. If you haven't, and it's not meant to be in any kind of offensive way, it's meant to make other people higher up the chain realize that if you haven't got no other options, there are no other options. You're only going to go one way, because that is the only way that is available to you at that time, or at least you think. So this kind of assumption like, oh, well, certain people in certain areas are obviously like that. It's like, no. They ain't got no options. If people actually invested time and money into areas that need it, and provide rehabilitation, provide after school activities, things that, will help them express or release, deal with, heal these traumas, which we all have, and they're all going to have now. I mean, it's not a laughing matter. This is so much more. The reality of it for me is that COVID is not a problem, and not anymore. The real problem are going to be all of these other issues. Or our mental, our mental health. People need to build rehab. Whether or not they're ready to accept that is another matter. But all of these things compounded with the people losing jobs. Now there's like Michelin-starred restaurants can't get staff, so they're shutting down half their service. If this continues, and listen, there is something wrong going on. There is something really fundamentally wrong going on. Yeah, we're just people are sitting around watching society break down, and not enough people are doing it. Like, I don't understand. There's a video that I shared a couple of days ago, and it's been taken down by YouTube, saying community standards. I mean, it's been uploaded again since, but for community standards. Now, I'll tell you what the video is. The video is retired policeman of 40 years, something like that. And he's been investigating COVID this entire time. And obviously he's a policeman, so he's done a very thorough job. Make no mistake. So he goes into a police office, his local police station. He videos the whole thing. Goes into a you know, the room where they record it. Seriously. So they go in one of those rooms, and he obviously puts his camera to record the conversation. So this is him and another police officer. So he brings in this, he's got a stack of paperwork of his investigation, right? And he's like, right, obviously under, you know, section what, you know, because he's a retired policeman, so he's like probably doing it all officially, listing all of the laws and the section, and saying he's entitled to record this interview. This is why he's got his phone out, and he brings out this document, shows it, see, you should know this, and does all of that jazz. And then he goes into the actual information. Okay. So he has officially reported the crime of malfeasance, misconduct, and medical negligence of the government against the people, and he's reported it as a crime, which means that there's a crime reference number for it. And officially, they have to investigate. The police have to investigate this, and if they are, because they're independent, although they have to obviously follow and implement the law that the government makes, set out, approve, whatever. They are independent, which means if the government is found to be corrupt or in any way against the people, it is the job of the police to investigate it and to make accountable all those in positions of power that have abused that power. That is the law. Right? So he goes in, reports, obviously goes through this thing. So first of all, he goes through the yellow card data. So over here, I don't know what it's like in other countries. Over here, they have a yellow card system, and that is a government site where all of the side effects are recorded, of which there are now 1 million severe side effects from the COVID-19 vaccine. And there are 2,000 deaths. Now, on those numbers, an independent, so he's got other doctors, he's got all of these testimonials, research that not just he's done, obviously he's found, but other people from around the world have done during this time. And this independent group of doctors, right, have reviewed the yellow card system and basically said, on the basis of that data and that data alone, there's more that comes. On that data alone, there should be an immediate halt to the vaccination program. Immediate. Not just here, everywhere. Because the numbers, the sheer volume of numbers of severe side effects prove that it is not fit for human use, the vaccine. Yeah, because remember, it's new technology. It's been created in a small amount of time. There are very small clinical trials that have done. They only did very small time reviewing side effects, and they have absolutely no idea about long-term side effects. And now we're just seeing these. These are just the short-term side effects, and they're already at that. And as statistically speaking, in terms of how vaccines are moderated and approved, and what numbers you need to sort of attain for them to be safe to use or not safe to use, these numbers are now at a level where it means that it is no longer safe to use, and that is advice that they have given. And this is what he's gone to the police to provide. Like, why are they pushing this when it is the data that is coming back now is now proving that it is not safe for human use? That even today I had an email, because as I said, I'm on all of the local county, newspapers, like the proper local ones. And Leicester, so that's a city not too far from here. They've just had 4,000, but just the city of Leicester, one city in the UK, 4,000 women reporting serious impacts to their menstrual cycles after having a vaccine. I posted it on my Facebook, and already somebody's commented going, "Oh my God, I've had the same. I didn't realize there was an association to the vaccine, and she's had a vaccine." So there's that. Then he also goes into some other research that there's some people in Canada, there's some doctors in Canada, and there's doctors all over the world. This is the thing, there's doctors all over the world saying that the vaccination should be stopped because of the ever increasing serious side effects that are coming. And these are short term. What would the long term side effects be? And he also went around loads of hospitals, and he said that all of the staff that he spoke to are saying the only people that are in the hospital that are causing them any strain on their system is people that are suffering from side effects from the vaccine. There's not one person in hospital as a result of COVID-19. So the virus is not causing the problem. It's side effects from the vaccine causing the problem. Additionally to that, when you look at the more no, that's not the right word. When you look at the mortality, I can't think of the word. Why is it going? Brain fart. The reasons for mortality, I think you know what I mean. Of an average year. Last year was the only year since records began that there was no influenza deaths. Influenza just didn't exist last year. COVID did. And when you also look at thank you, yeah, exactly, comorbidity. Thanks. When you also look at the number of deaths that have been registered as COVID-19. This is exactly what that is. Exactly that. So when you look at the total number of COVID-19 deaths, and you look at actually what they died of, and I know that's going to sound silly, but The vast majority of all COVID-19 deaths have already got comorbidity, so underlying serious conditions that have made their immune system completely weak and susceptible to disease. And had an influenza been around last year, which strangely for the first time in recorded history didn't, if it had been influenza, I guess that would have been the reason. But it wasn't influenza. There was no influenza last year. There was COVID. And so very few out of the total number actually were just pure healthy people that had nothing underlying, no underlying issues. That's important to remember. The policeman also says that all that they have done, all that they he goes into various, he's written to various MPs with all of the data that he's found, all of the doctors that are saying this must stop now, vaccines should stop now, like immediately, like it's a national emergency, that level. And he's had no response from the MPs. In fact, he's had a recognition. So they've received the email, they haven't read the data, they haven't actually read the information, and they certainly haven't acted on it. What was the other thing? I mean, there was so much in there. I'll find the latest version that is still on there, and if you can watch it before they try and take it down again, I would seriously advise doing it, because they could deny that he's even been into the police station now. Who knows? Are they investigating it? They should do, because it's been reported as a crime. And he's obviously got all of the evidence, like every single day, these little bleep are just more and more corruption. And there was what's the latest one? It was something. Hold on. There was something that happened today, I saw. Oh, well, that comes back to me. It's going to come back to me because it's important. So made a mental note. That's going to ring in that bell. It's going to come. Something else happened today. And this is, again, important for this, because there was a story on BBC News. But this is an inquiry that's happening now for something that happened in the 70s. And in the 70s, there was a school which was for students that had haemophilia, right? Now, these students were offered a new drug. A new drug at the time, wonder drug, they were told, by pharmaceutical companies. And this drug gave them all HIV and hepatitis. And they all, they've got all sorts of various problems. A lot of them sadly passed away. The point here is this. We're in 2021. This is 50 years later. They're only just doing a fucking inquiry, right? Only just. The guy was crying there. His two sons both had it, and they both died not long after being given this drug. Or no, sorry, like a few years. They only they survived until I think they were 20 or something. So all of those people at that school were conned, coerced, promised that they had a new wonder drug. We've just invented this new drug. We've just invented this new treatment. It's going to solve this problem. Sound familiar? Sound vaguely familiar? What's happening? So they gave it. It was approved. Oh, let's not forget that one. It was approved by all of the regulatory bodies as being safe. And ultimately, it resulted in the death of a lot of people, a lot of children, no less. And it's taken 50 years for even an inquiry to be done. Now, call me crazy, but I don't want to sit around and watch this shit go down for another fucking second. Because it is destroying lives. It's destroying lives, and it's doing it when really the virus is not the problem. It's everything else. It's the way that they are pushing these vaccines and not accurately reporting everything else to do with it, all of the side effects that are from it, all of the people that are suffering as a result of the vaccine. None of that is you wouldn't know. No one would know. No one would know unless you search it. People are too afraid. They're just like nodding along to the mainstream media, like no. Not only that, all they talk about is death. All they talk about is death. Different variants. Da, 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 da. That's how a fucking again. They're assuming that people aren't going to know anything about biology or immunology, and that a virus mutates thousands of fucking times anyway. That's how a virus fucking works. So they're just playing on people's fear, and it is criminal. And then coercing people, and because the way that they did it with my mum, I begged my mum not to get the vaccine. She wouldn't listen. She doesn't even go out the house. She does not go out the house. She has no reason to have it. Literally. She already takes about 30, 40 tablets a fucking day as it is. She's got so many other things, so many other issues. I was like, Mum, you don't need this thing. But the doctor was phoning her up every day for about 3 weeks. You must have it. You must have it. You're going to die if you don't have it. What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? Is that what they're doing to every single person? That is an absolute fucking disgrace. Yeah, people that are involved in this should be ashamed of themselves. Not once have they sat and gone, you know what? Here's a strange thought. How about we actually spend some time making sure that we're healthy individuals by eating healthier and doing healthier activities and spending more time outside, and just changing the whole thing. Because the fact of the matter is that I saw a video on Mind Valley, and if you don't know what Mind Valley is, get yourself on there. It's full of all kinds of goodness. I'll put a link in. This guy said, and he's studied health, fitness, food, all of that kind of stuff, psychology of those things as well, and has done for a long time. And he says that we are the only species on the planet. Every other species has a diet. When you talk about any other species, you go, well, their diet is this, i.e., food that they eat. Yeah, we're the only species that goes on a diet. See what I'm saying? See the difference? It's ridiculous when you think about it. Oh, so true. So actually, the food that we go on a diet with is the food that we should just be eating. A healthier diet. Like they haven't spent any time talking about any of these things. Like when you think about the comorbidity, the the virus really not being the reason for overall, because they're ultimately having all of these underlying issues. Well, why aren't we going back to the beginning with those? Like, we need to be sorted out our health. Fundamentally, we need to change to be healthier, because then we won't get anything. Anyway, I've just realised I've ranted on for an hour now. I have got loads of other information because obviously I did do one yesterday. I've got loads of stuff for you. Um, I'll do another one tomorrow. I really didn't mean to trigger anyone. If I've triggered anyone, I apologise. You know that my intention is coming from a good place. I really only want us to get better. All of us, including those that are in bad places, in dark places, doing dark things. Because it just doesn't it doesn't have to be that way. But again, as I mentioned before, with the analogy of the water, people need to realise that, if you don't have any other options, you're only going to have that one option, and they shouldn't be judged. Should not be judged. People should stop judging, because A, it doesn't get anywhere. B, everyone needs to get right off of their high horses right about now. And so you don't know anything about that person. You don't know where they've come from. You don't know what their background is. You don't know their personal situation. You don't know what trauma they've been through. You don't know what battles they go through on a daily basis. So you literally have no place. And that actually don't get nowhere anyway, does it? If we come from a place of love, of unconditional love, yeah, and positive energy, and spread that instead, we'll get more done. We will. We'll get more done. We'll get more done individually and more done collectively. And the act of giving is a gift. The act of helping others, that is the gift in itself. You don't need to receive something back. That's the beauty of paying it forward. And there's just so much going on right now. We need to step up. We need to step up. We need to. And we can. And people are all over the place. Oh, and just on that note, there was this awesome dude on Bloomberg. Love you guys. His name is Barry Givens, and he's just started. No, I don't know where it's just started, but it's definitely first time I've seen it on Bloomberg, and I watch Bloomberg all day, every day. That's a slight exaggeration. I watch it all night. Called Collab Capital, and it is a VC to support Black-owned startups. So that's a shout out to him and his amazingness. And also to other venture capitalists, get on the bandwagon, help support communities, help, support Black-owned businesses and Black-owned startups. Because as this Barry Givens said, and this is the same thing, it's, when you see success breeds success. And if you start giving opportunities and loans and advice and mentorship and coaching and guidance and support and help, after school activities, and all of these things in these communities, success breeds success, because then you've got your two options. And you've got more than one option. Then you can see that actually dreams do come true. So, love you guys. Yeah, virtual hugs. Lots and lots and lots of love. We can do this. We will do this. We are doing this. We've already won. It's fine. Check the links that I put in, particularly for that police one. It's really interesting. It's very important, and it is also relevant for anywhere else in the world. So, love you.